Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jay from Here for the Thought. We're going to be modifying the Keychron V2 today. We're jumping straight into the disassembly in the video, but just wanted to touch base about what the main goal is today. Our goal is going to be actually installing a custom steel plate. A lot of the higher end keyboards actually have many options for different types of metal plates to go into the bottom on the outside or inside of the keyboard. It affects the sound, it affects the pop of the keyboard, and also just adds a specific substance of weight. And having a budget keyboard like the V2, it doesn't have any kind of option like that, so we're going to be making one for ourselves. As you can see here, I'm just kind of getting an idea of where the plate's going to go, and I'm going to start cutting out the framework of the inside. 2 stems are going to be removed and a bunch of the support brackets. Alright, we're jumping in straight with the Dremel. I will say with the Dremel, it did work quite well, but it did get a little messy with the residue and with the extra bits that were adhering to the bottom of the case. If I was going to do this again, I would probably just stick with the wire cutters, but since I am planning to paint the bottom of my case, I wasn't too concerned. But if you want to keep the translucent or you don't want to deal with painting, I would definitely recommend sticking with just these wire cutters, as you can see. Make sure it's nice and smooth and the plate has an easy place to go. It is a pressure fit, so once that's squeezed down, it's nice and tight against the walls of our foot brackets. And that's it for the plate. We're going to be jumping straight now into our sound dampening. We're using an Automotive Sound Dampening Material. This was originally used to stop vibrations and also to channel the audio sound, but it will do this very similar thing for our keyboard here. I'm including some base pieces into the bottom so that it will be level with the base plate and those other brace vertical panels. And now we're going to be attaching our large piece. This material is very sticky. It's pretty much a one-time use, so make sure you have it straight, make sure all the edges are perfect, get it pressed down nice and tight so it adheres to the material. And you can use your fingers, but I also recommend using a tool such as a roller, or I'm using a Zippo here, something solid and smooth that will rub over the material without it sticking and give it a proper adhesion. Once this is done, being that this is a metal backed material, I am going to be using the stock silicone pad again. I'm going to be trimming it, as you'll see next. By doing that, it's going to give a little extra filler, a little extra change in tone. It's a little tedious to make the trimming on the bottom, but once it's done, it's definitely worth it. Be mindful, obviously, you can't return it to stock if you're doing these mods. Go ahead and test fit it, make sure it's fitting in properly with your dampening material. And in the end, I did remove those nubs that are sticking up. It was making the case just a hair too tight. Alright, now we're moving straight onto the PCB. We're doing the standard tape mod, a PE foam that goes underneath the goes underneath the stabilizers and switches, but on top of the PCB. Quick disassemble. Pull these Gateron browns out. They're okay switches, but nothing to write home about. Alright, so now we've disassembled our stabilizers. We're cleaning them with alcohol so that we can balance them, apply the Teflon tape, or aka plumber's tape, to the ends. That fills out the space between the wire and the housings just a little bit, so you're not having to apply as much lube. I will say with these stock stabilizers, unfortunately there was a lot of movement between the housing and the stem itself, so there's a lot of wobble. And because of that, they'll definitely be upgraded down the line. But we're just making sure this large bar, the wire, quote unquote, is getting straightened. The smaller ones have no issues at all. Those are all pretty much balanced perfectly. Alright, just a quick example of the wrap I used here. The sizing's in the video. And we're moving straight on to lubing our stabilizer housings. You want to do the inside of the housing and then also where the arm where the actual wire connects. And now we're moving on to our switches. This is probably the longest part of the process, but there's plenty of videos showing how to lube your switches. So keep an eye out on YouTube. I also have links in my link tree that go through the basics as well. We are bag lubing our new springs. You want to use about 10 to 12 drops of 105. It's a super thin lubrication. And just give the bag a shake. Kind of like a shake and bake chicken. Simple as that. Now we're moving on to the switches themselves, lubing the inside of the housings. Just a quick overview of the process. And we're reassembling them. This process will take you a couple hours, but once it's done, they're definitely worth it for the value of the sound that you get out of them. You're going to poke some holes in the PE foam so that you can mount your stabilizers. Those act as something to hold the PE foam in place as well so that you can continue. Make sure those are seated properly. It's going to be a snug fit, but it shouldn't be too tight as long as you get the proper thickness of material. Right now I'm making sure that there's no issues with the holes, cleaning them out a little, just so there's no chance of cross-threading my screws. Alright, we're jumping ahead again. Stabilizers are done. And now I'm going to continue poking holes because these are a 5-pin switch that I'm using. So I do have to do the center and then the 2 side holes. As you're pushing down on your switches, make sure to do it evenly and precise. And by doing this, you want to make sure you're not bending or breaking any pins. The final step is simply doing the tape mod. I'm doing 2 full layers of tape. Obviously this is up to you how you want to do it, but I like the sound that I get once I have the tape mod on. As you can see I'm doing here, make sure you push down and adhere the tape as best as you can to the board. That will give it the most effective use. After this, I'm just going to trim the ends and it'll be time to reassemble. Pretty straightforward overall. While I'm finishing this up, I just want to mention this is my first longer video. I still tried to make it as short as possible while providing quality DIY information. So if you think it was too quick, if it was too long, just let me know. I appreciate the feedback. Alright, it's just about time to reassemble. As you can see, the PCB slid right back into the housing without any issues, and it was able to screw it down. No warping, no issues at all getting the screws to fit properly. It was a snug fit, but that's exactly what I was looking for. Then go ahead and screw in the top case. And now we're just going to reattach our keycaps. I have new keycaps coming, but they won't be here for a few weeks. Alright, take a listen to the sound test and then let me know what you think. And just a reminder, I am not a typist, so bear with me with my slow pecking. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and please leave your thoughts below. I'd love to hear what you guys think.